Picture this. It's 1945. The Nazi Empire is collapsing. Hitler's trapped in his bunker. Allied tanks are pushing across Europe from the west, while Soviet forces close in from the east. Cities lie in rubble, refugees flood roads, and the world watches in disbelief as one of history's most terrifying regimes crumbles. But amid the chaos, a strange rumor spreads. A heavily guarded train has slipped away in the night. It's said to be loaded with Nazi gold, stolen art, and priceless jewels. It vanishes into a maze of tunnels in the Polish mountains, never to be seen again. For decades, people have whispered about this ghost train, buried deep underground and waiting to be uncovered. Historians call it myth. Treasure hunters call it their obsession. And conspiracy theorists, they say parts of it were found and quietly covered up. So tonight we're going to follow the tracks, because whether or not the Nazi gold train ever existed, the real story of missing Nazi treasure is stranger than most movies dare to suggest. Before we chase trains, let's talk about the Nazis and their treasure habits. Hitler wasn't just obsessed with conquering land, he was obsessed with collecting and controlling wealth. The Third Reich had an almost manic fixation on treasures. Everywhere the Nazis went, they looted. Central banks, museums, synagogues, private homes. If it was valuable, it was taken. Gold bars, silverware, famous paintings, even wedding rings stripped from Holocaust victims at the camps. The scale is staggering. Estimates suggest that billions of dollars in gold, art, and valuables were amassed by the Nazi state, a fortune beyond comprehension. Hitler and his inner circle weren't just planning military conquest, they were designing a new cultural empire. Museums, galleries, and personal estates were filled with looted treasures, all intended to project power and reinforce the myth of Aryan supremacy. But as the Allies closed in during 1944 and 1945, Hitler's men faced a terrifying reality. What happens to all that treasure if Germany loses? The Third Reich's obsession with plunder became a dangerous liability. Those riches had to be hidden, moved, or protected at all costs, and many believe that's when the ghost train story was born. By early 1945, the Third Reich was collapsing under the relentless pressure of the Allies from the west and the Soviet Red Army from the east. Hitler's dream of a 1,000-year empire was crumbling, yet even in defeat, the Nazi leadership was obsessed with one thing: preserving the vast treasure they had stolen across Europe. Among the most notorious examples was the Hungarian gold train. As Budapest fell to the Soviets, Nazis loaded a train with gold bars, jewelry, silver, antiques, and priceless works of art, much of it seized from Hungarian Jews who had been deported to concentration camps. The train became a desperate attempt to save the spoils from the advancing armies, a rolling horde of unimaginable wealth. The treasure came from multiple sources. The Nazis systematically plundered central banks, museums, synagogues, and private homes across occupied Europe. Entire art collections were confiscated, valuable objects stripped from families, and even ordinary household silverware and coins were seized en masse. This wasn't just theft, it was part of a deliberate strategy to fund Hitler's vision of a self-sufficient, fully financed empire. Hitler's obsession with treasure was personal as well as political. He viewed gold, jewels, and art as symbols of power and legitimacy, objects that could cement the legacy of the Third Reich. Rumors circulated that he had secret vaults in the Alps, as well as caches hidden near Berlin, designed to outlast the inevitable defeat he foresaw. Some historians suggest that this fixation influenced military strategy. Decisions to move or protect treasure could override purely tactical concerns, and entire units were sometimes assigned to guard stolen assets instead of focusing on the battlefield. The train itself did not vanish into legend. It was intercepted by American forces in Austria. But the story of what happened next is almost as scandalous as the theft itself. Instead of being carefully cataloged and returned to rightful owners, portions of the loot were borrowed by U.S. officers. Gold was quietly sold, silverware and artwork found its way into private homes, and many valuables vanished into military offices. Some of the treasure eventually returned to survivors, but much remains unaccounted for. Did it quietly circulate in private collections? Was it melted down and laundered into secret accounts? Or did some of it fund post-war intelligence operations, feeding the emerging shadow world of the Cold War? The Hungarian gold train reminds us that even when treasure is recovered, the line between rightful restitution and clandestine appropriation is blurry. Between Hitler's obsession, the systematic plunder, and the murky post-war handling, the story sits at the intersection of war, greed, and secrecy, a stark reminder that truth can be as strange and sometimes as dark as legend. While the Hungarian gold train is well documented, the story that has captured imaginations for decades is the so-called Polish gold train. Unlike its Hungarian counterpart, this train has never been officially verified. But that hasn't stopped rumors, radar images, and treasure hunters from chasing the legend. The tale begins in the final months of the war. The Nazis, facing the unstoppable advance of Soviet troops across Eastern Europe, were desperate to safeguard their stolen treasures. Silesia in modern-day southwestern Poland became a hub of secretive activity. Here, deep in the Owl Mountains, the Nazis had begun an ambitious construction project known as Project Riese, a network of underground tunnels, bunkers, and fortifications. Historians aren't entirely sure what all of it was for. Some suggest it was meant as a hidden industrial complex. Others believe it was a potential hideout for Hitler himself, should Berlin fall. It is said that in late 1944 or early 1945, one of these underground facilities became the destination for a heavily guarded train. Loaded with gold, jewels, and priceless works of art, the train allegedly disappeared into the tunnels, never to be seen again. Locals claimed that Nazi guards executed anyone who got too close or asked too many questions. Stories of families who saw trucks, wagons, and heavily armed convoys disappear into the mountains persisted for decades, passed down like a dark folk legend. In 2015, two treasure hunters reignited global attention by claiming they had found radar images of a buried train in Wałbrzych, Poland. The world was abuzz. Was the legendary gold train real? Did it sit there under tons of rock and soil holding billions in Nazi plunder? The Polish government even sent engineers to investigate, but according to official reports, nothing was found. Yet conspiracy theorists are skeptical. Some suggest the train was discovered and removed before the public ever saw it. Others speculate that parts of the treasure were quietly transferred out of Europe altogether, perhaps through secret channels into Switzerland, South America, or even U.S. intelligence hands. The ambiguity fuels the legend. Every denial, every inconclusive investigation only makes the story more tantalizing. Part of what makes this legend so compelling is the context. By 1945, Nazi Germany had orchestrated one of the largest and most sophisticated theft operations in history. Entire banks and vaults were emptied, museums and private collections stripped bare. For the Nazis, treasure wasn't just wealth, it was insurance, propaganda, and power. A single lost train could plausibly hold billions in assets, and the very idea that it might still be hidden taps into a primal human fascination with forbidden riches and unsolved mysteries. The Polish gold train legend sits at the intersection of history and speculation. It embodies the chaos of a collapsing regime, the audacity of looters, and the tantalizing possibility that some secrets of the Third Reich remain buried, literally and figuratively, beneath the earth. For treasure hunters, historians, and conspiracy enthusiasts alike, the Owl Mountains are more than just a geographical location. They are the ultimate what if in the story of World War II treasure. When Nazi Germany began collapsing in 1945, so did its control over one of the most extensive treasure networks the world has ever seen. From 1939 onward, the Nazis had plundered almost every country they invaded, stripping wealth from banks, museums, churches, and private homes. Gold bars, rare diamonds, ancient artifacts, and priceless paintings vanished into the Reich's secret vaults. But here's where things get murkier. By the war's final months, many of these treasures seemed to evaporate. Historians know for a fact that much of the wealth was moved out of Berlin and other major cities as Allied bombings intensified. But where it went and how much remains unaccounted for, remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. Some gold went through official Nazi escape channels like Operation Axiom Feuerland, a covert plan to funnel treasure and high-ranking Nazis into South America as the Reich fell. Argentina, Chile, and Brazil became hotspots for Nazi fugitives after the war, and some researchers believe that entire caches of gold and art were smuggled across the Atlantic in U-boats. There are credible reports of German submarines surfacing on the Argentine coast in the summer of 1945, months after Germany's surrender, fueling speculation that lost treasures, and perhaps even Hitler himself, were spirited away under cover of darkness. Then there are the rumors of hidden mountain vaults scattered across Europe. From Bavaria to Austria, countless tunnels and salt mines became makeshift treasure bunkers as the Reich's end drew near. The Altusee salt mine in Austria is one famous example. It was packed with thousands of stolen masterpieces from Europe's greatest museums. While much of that collection was recovered by Allied forces, whispers persist about entire vaults sealed off and forgotten. Their entrances deliberately collapsed. Some treasure hunters claim that if the Allies knew about these hidden caches, they kept them secret to secure the spoils for themselves. And then there's the strange case of the missing Reichsbank gold. According to Nazi records, Germany's central bank held more than 550 metric tons of gold before the war. By 1945, over half of that, worth tens of billions today, had vanished. Some was recovered in the Merker salt mine, famously uncovered by U.S. troops, but vast quantities remain unaccounted for. Did it sink with fleeing U-boats? Is it buried deep beneath Alpine fortresses? Or was it quietly divided among Allied intelligence agencies during the chaotic post-war years? One of the most chilling theories connects this missing gold to secret Cold War funding. Some researchers argue that Allied governments, particularly the U.S., used seized Nazi assets to bankroll covert operations and rebuild European economies under the Marshall Plan. If true, it means that much of the missing treasure isn't missing at all. It was repurposed to shape the geopolitical landscape of the modern world. But conspiracy theorists push things even further. They point to classified OSS and CIA files, suggesting that entire caches of Nazi wealth were deliberately hidden to keep them out of Soviet hands. Others believe the Vatican quietly facilitated treasure transfers through its infamous rat lines, assisting Nazi officials in exchange for portions of the Reich's stolen fortune. None of these claims can be fully proven, but the sheer scale of missing wealth leaves the door wide open to speculation. Even today, new discoveries add fuel to the mystery. In 2021, a team of researchers claimed to have found a diary belonging to a Waffen SS officer that described 11 hidden gold deposits across Poland, allegedly holding up to 30 tons of Nazi gold. Polish officials initially dismissed the claims, but excavation efforts quietly continue in rural Silesia. So far, nothing has been confirmed, but nothing confirmed has become the repeating theme of Nazi treasure hunts. The deeper you dig, the stranger the story becomes. Every recovered painting, every unearthed crate seems to hint at an even larger hoard still out there, waiting. The big question: where is all this treasure today? Some historians claim much of it ended up melted down, laundered, or quietly absorbed into national reserves. Others whisper of private collections hidden behind locked doors and untraceable accounts. Gold bars stamped with Nazi insignia have surfaced in Europe, South America, and even the U.S., fueling the theory that the treasure was dispersed carefully, deliberately, and secretly. Then there's the idea that some of the gold became black money, funding covert operations, intelligence agencies, or shadowy post-war deals. Imagine a trainload of bullion quietly vanishing only to resurface in the financial skeleton of the Cold War. Every discovery, every rumor, every gold bar that emerges adds fuel to a fire that refuses to burn out. And the more people look, the more elusive the treasure becomes. And if the money wasn't enough, there's a darker side, the curse. Stories abound of those who came too close to Nazi treasure. Smugglers, officers, treasure hunters, meeting sudden misfortune, bankruptcies, strange deaths, families destroyed by mysterious circumstances. Some say it's divine retribution for wealth stolen from the innocent. Others suggest a simple pattern of greed and paranoia. Even treasure hunters report an eerie feeling when exploring the Owl Mountains or abandoned Nazi bunkers. Equipment fails, warnings appear, and locals whisper that some treasures were cursed to protect them. Whether myth or reality, the curse adds another layer to the mystery. It transforms a historical hunt into something almost supernatural, a test of courage, luck, and fate. Here's where it gets really intriguing. Some historians suggest that elements of the Hungarian gold train didn't just vanish. They were deliberately absorbed into post-war intelligence budgets. Think about it. In 1947, the CIA was founded, and suddenly America had money to burn in covert operations. Was some of that black budget gold Nazi in origin? We don't have hard proof, but scattered hints suggest missing art and valuables resurfaced in private hands with suspicious timing. Gold bars with Nazi stamps occasionally pop up on the black market. And whispers of Operation Safe Haven, a U.S. program to seize Nazi assets, suggest that not everything was reported publicly. The deeper you dig, the more the line blurs between fact and conspiracy. Was America simply sloppy with stolen property, or did it deliberately keep the treasure? Whether myth or reality, the curse adds another layer to the mystery. It transforms a historical hunt into something almost supernatural, a test of courage, luck, and fate. The legend refuses to die. Every decade, someone claims they've found the gold train. Sometimes it's radar images, sometimes it's eyewitness testimony. Treasure hunters keep pouring into the Owl Mountains with metal detectors and ground-penetrating scanners. Why? Because the idea of a hidden Nazi treasure hoard is irresistible. It's the perfect mystery. Secret tunnels, vanishing trains, billions in loot, and governments that might not want the truth revealed. And even when nothing is found, the rumors only grow stronger. After all, if governments were hiding something, wouldn't they tell us exactly what they found? Let's take this even further. Imagine for a moment that parts of the Nazi treasure weren't lost at all. Imagine they were deliberately redirected. Conspiracy theorists argue that Nazi gold may have quietly influenced the entire post-war world. Some say it helped rebuild European economies faster than we were told. Others suggest it seeded secret slush funds that fueled everything from Cold War espionage to covert weapons projects. And if you think that sounds like a stretch, remember, wars are expensive. The sudden rise of American intelligence operations, the shadowy financing of early nuclear programs, the mysterious disappearances of certain Nazi officials after the war. It all starts to look like puzzle pieces that might fit together. Maybe the gold train wasn't lost at all. Maybe it was claimed and used. So what really happened to the Nazi gold train? The official story is simple. It never existed. The Hungarian gold train was real, but the Polish legend is just that, a legend. But legends don't last this long without a reason. Billions in treasure truly did vanish in 1945. Some was stolen by Allied officers, some slipped into secret accounts, and some may still be buried, hidden away under tons of rock and concrete. And then there's the curse. A dark, shadowy reminder that some treasure comes with a price. Misfortune, misdeeds, or worse, some say, supernatural consequences have haunted those who sought it. The truth is, we may never know. Maybe the train is still out there rusting in a forgotten tunnel. Maybe it was quietly emptied by governments who preferred silence to headlines. Or maybe the treasure was never hidden at all, just quietly folded into the very world we live in today. After all, history's written by the victors, and sometimes so are the treasure maps.
Gold and guns, gold and guns. Thank you for watching Golden Guns. Please like and subscribe.